In celebration of Black History Month, I would like to discuss with you one of the most important movements in United States history, the African American Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement reflects the grim history of race relations within the United States, but it also reflects the tireless perseverance in the wake of racial suppression. More importantly, the Civil Rights Movement reflects the enormous effort of people from all walks of life to ensure equality to all Americans, regardless of the color of their skin. I want to discuss a less-known group of activists, a group known as the Freedom Riders. These activists are a perfect example of how unity can help change our world forever. Many people don't know who the Freedom Riders are, and most people think of Martin Luther King Jr. as the main civil rights proponent. Of course, he was the face of the movement, but there are many others who are just as important to the cause. This group of brave activists was a vital force in the fight for equal rights among African Americans. They sought to forever abolish equal but separate interstate travel through a series of nonviolent movements. In the early 1960s, the Congress of Racial Equality and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee sponsored the Freedom Rides. 13 riders, 7 blacks and 6 whites, decided to test the Supreme Court's rulings that were supposed to desegregate public interstate travel. They did so by riding public buses into the Deep South from Washington, D.C. The 13 riders began their journey on May 4, 1961. They left Washington, D.C. on the Greyhound and Trailways buses destined for New Orleans, Louisiana, through many of the most conservative and racist areas of the Deep South. They faced many hardships along the way. Despite desegregation of interstate travel, many states in the South ignored the laws. The goal of the Freedom Rides was to call attention to the ineffectiveness of the court's rulings, and they had done just that. While in Anniston, Alabama, the Greyhound bus was firebombed by an angry mob of white oppressors. As the bus went up in flames, the passengers, some of which were not involved with the Freedom Rides, scrambled for safety. Shamefully, the exits were forced shut by the vicious mob until the threat of an explosion was imminent. They let go of the doors only to save their own lives. The event was witnessed around the world as other countries stood in shock of what happened. How could a country obsessed with freedom be so close-minded? A 12-year-old white girl named Janie McKinney came to the riders' aids with a bucket of water and some Dixie cups. The single act of kindness changed her life forever, and she became an integral story of the civil rights movement. The riders were naive, as they came from a less conservative East Coast. They did not expect to be met with so much violence, despite their nonviolent tactics. Throughout their journey, many of the riders were victims of physical aggression. In Montgomery, Alabama, future Congressman John Lewis, pictured here on the left, and James Zwerg on the right, were attacked and beaten by violent protesters. In Jackson, Mississippi, many riders were imprisoned with the goal of filling the jails. Over 300 riders were imprisoned. Images of injured nonviolent protesters undoubtedly struck a chord with the world. The national and worldwide attention prompted the Interstate Commerce Commission to enact a new federal law banning segregation at all interstate public facilities based on race, color, or creed. It became effective November 1, 1961. Since this turbulent time in American history, there have been many successes in the fight for equal rights, but it's important to recognize that there is still much to do. Black History Month helps us reflect on the hard work of others to ensure our freedoms, but it also helps us to remember that there is still work to be done, here and abroad.